Tell us when.
All right. So that was fun. I'm glad you guys all got to see it, and I can't wait to see what this film does for our community and the different parts that make up our community. Um, Welcome to the grand finale of this year's Fight ALS Film Fest. And I'll kick it to you, Dr. Kavanaugh.
Oh, um, yeah. I'll tell you what, Sunny. I don't even know how many times I've seen it in different iterations, and it still leaves me just a little choked up, because I think about not just Sasha and Anyo, who are the heart and soul of this, but I do so much work with children and families around the world, and just recently did a whole big project with families up in Seattle living with ALS, and it just brings it all home because you get to sit in a room with these kids and have them talk about their experiences and what they do and don't know about ALS and how their families do and don't talk about ALS and what's clear and what's not clear to them. And, sitting in a room with kids just brings it all home. So I know we're all feeling all the emotions. And I think that is what is so spectacular about truly the extraordinary team of artists who put this film together. The story that came out of the brilliant minds of Sasha and Anya, and just knowing the families that we all do, whether we're all part of that family or whether we serve families, knowing the impact it's going to make. So I just want to open it up. Sunny, do you want us to do some reintroductions? Is that helpful? Okay. So for those of you who are watching the recording, so my name is Melinda Kavanaugh. I'm the president of Global Neuro Y Care, and we are the parent, a very kind owner of LUKi and the Lights, and thrilled to be able to get it out to the world through our website, through not only the film but also the materials that we've created, lots of educational materials for children and families. So as a clinical social worker and a researcher on children and youth who live in families with ALS for many, many years, it's an honor to be a part of this project. On this call, we also have two of the really extraordinary filmmakers. We have Toby Cochran and Adrian Ochoa. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves or wait.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Toby Cochran. I'm the director of LUKi and the Lights and founder of Big Grin Productions. And we've got a simple mission statement, which is to put big old grins on everybody's faces with the work that we create around the world. And hopefully the film brings some grins and smiles along with those tears, but hopefully they're tears of joy and compassion, and hopefully we did the community justice with this film, and we really believe in the message and the power of what this film is going to be able to do. We had an extraordinary group of artists from all over the world helping contribute and donate time and things like that to make this film a reality. And I'll let Adrian share about his story as well.
Yeah, and I'm Adrian Ochoa, the producer of LUKi and the Lights. Like I mentioned earlier, my personal connection to ALS is that my grandfather passed away of ALS in '94, and we're just super proud to create something that we can share with the community.
And we have Tanner representing the ALS Association. Tanner, do you want to jump in, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Tanner Hawkinsmith, representing the ALS Association. It was our privilege to be able to help fund this film to get it across the finish line. It is a beautiful, beautiful picture of what ALS is. And we believe that's going to have a high impact, obviously, for our children and families, but also just for the community as well, and for the broader world to know more about ALS. And so it's a project that's been near and dear to our hearts, and we are privileged to be able to partner with Global Neuro Y Care and Big Grin to make this available to everyone. And so very excited to see it be made available to our community and to the public very soon. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Tanner. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Adrian. So Sunny, I will turn it over to you for Q&A. Is that correct, my friend?
Yep. I'll hop in, and anybody feel free to drop questions in the chat, and I can work them into the conversation kind of organically, or if you want to raise your hand, like your Zoom hand, we can call on you, like Mandy just did. We'll let Mandy start.
I'll kick it off by saying, hopefully I can get it out without crying, but thank you for this movie. When my children and my family were going through this with my stepdad, I didn't know how to explain what was going on to them in a way that they could grasp. And this really does it in such an approachable way for kids. And I know that 6 years ago, where my kids were, they would have latched onto this and it would have made sense, and it would have, I think, helped in so many different ways. So I just want to say thank you, because I think this is going to be such a gift to the kids in this community that are going through this. So thank you so much for this.
My first thought is, when will this be made publicly available? What is kind of your timeline here?
I
know
knew
y'all are
I
in
knew that
this
was the question.
structures.
So, yes, so I can very happily state that we will have, as of June 21st, and I know this is the first time that anyone has heard any specific dates. So, I don't know, I feel like we need a drum roll or something. We are, yeah, right on. So, so June 21st, right, is International ALS MND Day. So we're super happy about that. And we feel like that is a great time to roll it out to our community. And that is the opportunity to kind of share it with ALS MND organizations around the world. So I will say stay tuned, that there will be emails rolling out, that there will be posts on social media, there will be posts on our website. So stay tuned for June 21st will be the day that it will be accessible to view on our website. And what I mean by that is the website Global Neuro Y Care is the home of LUKi. So all of the educational materials, so we have a coloring book for children and youth. We have materials for families to kind of walk through these really complicated, intense, emotional scenes that play out in the film. We have a Q&A for kids so that they can say, what about this and what about that, in age-appropriate questions. So on our website, Global Neuro Y Care, you will find all of those materials freely downloadable, print offable, do whatever you'd like to with them. But know that by June 21st, we will have a kit that organizations around the world and families will be able to access, that will kind of guide you through how to not only watch the film, but how to use the materials. Because what we really, really want to be able to see are kids and families living with ALS use some of the coloring book pages, write their own, draw out their own LUKi. We have a whole suite of activities that, again, be prepared. Sorry to sound like some sort of TV show coming soon, but stay tuned. It's happening. We have a whole kind of rollout, but it will happen June 21st. So stay tuned to social media. If you don't follow us at Global Neuro Y Care. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, but also you can always follow LUKi and the Lights. Everything will be up there. So that's my very long-winded answer to when are you going to be able to watch the film?
Amazing. Kathleen, I can tell you, I made the horrible decision of sitting behind Sasha and Anya and their children at the premiere in Switzerland in December. So there are two girls, while on top of battling fatigue and just common Jeremy kid stuff, that was also their first time to see it all the way through. And so my friend Bronson that was with me and I just ugly face cried at the girls' reaction to the whole film. But Kathleen's question is kind of more to the general kids. I think it was before we started recording, you talked about bringing it full circle, showing it to kids. Has there been other situations where children are able to view it, and other than the Seattle event you spoke of?
So I have showed it to kind of small groups of children, just kind of brief feedback, but nothing at the kind of larger, this level at all. Any child that I've been in the room with that's seen it, and I just want to say it was exceptionally hard for Sasha's youngest daughter because LUKi was so real to her, right? LUKi was everything to her. She was absolutely a part of kind of his life as he was created. So I think it was hard for her to see him die. So that was a very emotional piece for her. I will say that in the kids that I've seen it with, I have seen it with some children who are in families with ALS MND, and then I've also seen it at a couple different film festivals where children were present. And they absolutely were enthralled. They understood it. They followed the story, and I can't say that the children in the room knew anything about ALS. I don't know who they were, but it's absolutely accessible. Children follow it, they get it, they enjoy it, they laugh, they feel the emotion, but it resonates with children of all ages that I've been a part of. But I'm certainly not the only one. Both Adrian and Toby have been at many festivals with children, so they could certainly speak to those experiences as well.
Yeah, the reaction is exactly what Melinda shared across the board from kids from all over the world that have been watching the film in the festivals and things like that. And what's been interesting and kind of fun and unique is the film has been kind of, there's different categories in the festivals, right? Where there's, kind of adult animation or animation as a whole, or specific animation targeted for family and children. And LUKi keeps getting into that category, which is perfect because that was part of what our intentions were anyways with this film. And it's been just unanimous across the board of the kids understand it. Most people that speak to us, have never quite understood what ALS ever was until we have a conversation with them afterwards out in the hallway. And it's like, do you remember the ice bucket challenge? And they're like, oh yeah. And they're like, that's what that is. And they're like, I finally understand what ALS is and like how it affects the body. Because everybody shares before that they weren't really sure. And the kids resonate with LUKi and all of the characters and the story. And it's just been incredible seeing the reaction, and a lot of the kids end up voting for LUKi being the best film at the festival. So it's really neat to see, like we get, like, we win like best audience award, but it's like based on primarily the kids voting for the film. So it's really cool to see that.
Awesome. And just because we are on a recording, I'm gonna go ahead and read some of the stuff from the chat so that people can hear it. So we did get a note. We've asked the questions about kids. We've asked the questions about when it'll be public. And we got a note from Sasha that said, just woke up in the middle of the night with no reason. Maybe that's it. Good luck. And thanks for all your love and support. Say hello to everyone from me. So that was from Sasha. Carol said that we are sending so much love back to Sasha, and same with Melinda. And then Desi asked the question, why did they make LUKi a robot? Feel like that might be for the creative team. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I was going to tell Toby. Absolutely. Take it away.
I have one of the original 3D prints that Anyo made right before his hands kind of went out. So Sasha and Anyo made a bunch of the original designs. So you can kind of see their very, very original design of LUKi. And before, there was giant light bulbs in pretty much all of the joints, which, you know, we worked really hard to ensure that we captured the personality and the essence of LUKi and not change the character too much, but we needed to improve it for performance sake in animation. But and from what I know, what Sasha and Anyo have always shared, when Sasha created the robot, it was by putting the light bulbs in all the joints, it was just an easy way for their children to understand what was going on with daddy, essentially Anyo. And as the disease was progressing, they could kind of fill in the light bulbs, if you will, on a piece of paper and kind of X it out or fill it in. And it was just an easy way to kind of grasp visually what was happening to LUKi. And I've always loved something that Tanner has said, that it's taken a robot to humanize this disease. Tanner, did I get that quite right?
No, yeah, absolutely, Toby. I think, you know, in my experience, people have sometimes a hard time with tough subjects when they see themselves in the subject, and it can prevent them from even engaging in the content. And so for both adults and children, I think it took a robot to really personify what ALS is, and in a way that us as humans can, for a minute, disassociate ourselves from it, but understand it in a greater way. And so I think it just humanizes ALS in a way that honestly doing a human story couldn't do, I don't think. And you can also just get a lot more information about the disease that way too. And so I've heard a lot of people talk, a lot of adults even say, I understand ALS more after watching that 9-minute short of a cartoon robot than I've ever heard you talking the past 5 years, you know, about ALS. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things, and Jennifer, I want to tie this into Jennifer's comment, like, you know, we do a terrible job as humans about talking about death and dying. Like we just kind of are afraid of it. We're not comfortable with that conversation, with that process, what that looks like. And by showing it, like everybody is saying, by showing it as a robot, we're able to walk through it and to see it and to feel it, but we're able to do that in a way that has just a slight bit of disconnect from a human, and we're able to connect ourselves to the emotions in the experience in a way that we immediately kind of put up walls and barriers if it was a human. So I mean, I couldn't agree with all of this. I think it's absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The whole robot is just spectacular, and Sasha and Anya win for that for sure.
And a follow-up question from me is, how do you decide when you were creating the story if this is going to be a short film or a feature film, or how does that process work when you sit down to write everything out?
That's a good question. That's a lot of people, especially in the entertainment industry, even struggle with trying to figure that out. So when Sasha and Anyo came to us, they had written an outline, and it kind of had the pillars or the foundational structure of like what they wanted in there, which was obviously making sure that the diagnosis was very accurate at the doctor's office, and showing that there was a friend, and making sure that the friends ended up possibly becoming the caretakers, and there was bits and elements of that. And then so with our expertise of us just being storytellers, and Adrian hails from being at Pixar for many years, and we worked with a lot of artists and top tier talent. So it was kind of up to us to take their original inspiration and craft it in a way to make it kind of bite size. And that was one of the biggest challenges, because the original kind of outline was nearly 17, 18 minutes long. And we knew, you know, and animation is super labor intensive, and it's very expensive. But, you know, to make something that long, we just couldn't do it. And the difficulty with all that was, from my understanding, ALS can affect everybody differently. So the diagnosis can, you know, hit somebody and be 1 year or 5 years, or maybe even longer or even less. So how do we encapsulate the disease and the diagnosis, and how LUKi is deciding to make that decision to live with it, but do that and consolidate all of that in a year and try to make it like everything in 9 minutes. So that was pretty much our challenge with the story.
I'll just read a couple more questions from the chat, because we're getting a lot right now. And I think Melinda's addressing a lot of them, but I'm just going to say them out loud again for recording's sake. Faith asked, what is the youngest age that you would suggest for a child to see this film?
So I jumped in there, and you know, so quite frankly, thinking about it from a developmental perspective, it's spectacular that it's made in such a basic way. And I don't mean basic by like you don't need intelligence, but basic in that it tells, just like what Toby was saying, we could have had a 3-hour film to tell way much more. But if we're thinking about one kind of children's attention span, what kind of basic information do they understand when this happens and this happens and this happens? And because there isn't a lot of complex, hypothetical kind of discussions or processes, it was very basic. It really does attend to children as young as 5 or 6. You know, they're not our hypothetical, they're our concrete thinkers. So they're the ones that are going to be able to see kind of, oh, this happens, then this happens, then this happens. So the light goes out, the arm doesn't work, then this happens. So quite frankly, as young as 5 or 6, children are absolutely able to understand it, with the caveat, and I always want to be really careful with anything, that it is up to the parents to make sure that they know their child. They know their child's temperament, that they know their child's kind of emotional ability to handle things. So we always give that respect and acknowledgement to the parents, but really children as young as 5 or 6 would be able to watch it.
Diane wrote in the chat, I love that you captured the anger at the diagnosis, which is such a hard reality for so many. This normalizes that reaction. That seemed like a really, well, in the comparison of the whole movie, it seemed like a long scene. What did you, for the directors, did you have, was that something that you knew you wanted to focus on? Or was that something that just in the scene, you were like, we're sitting in it, we're doing this? How did that work?
Yeah, that was actually a scene that was never a part of Sasha Nanyo's story, and something that I had to fight for to kind of put in there. And thank God I was working with Melinda's help, because just as she shared in the chat thread, it helps normalize the emotions. And this is the thing that we knew as the storytellers and as the director. It was important for me to make sure that we as an audience member could have just a moment with LUKi, just frustrated, just being angry, just like not understanding why the hell was I diagnosed with this damn disease, you know, that sort of thing. And because all the other scenes primarily are accompanied with the friends, and LUKi's always doing these activities. And if you've got a character that's constantly like, you know, going like this, And we never, in life is so many ups and downs, right? And we need the down moments for it to be a reflection of being honest and sincere. And without that, to me, this became kind of the linchpin of the heart of LUKi and the story. So we had to present this to Sasha and Anyo and bring them along to like why this was important. And like I said, thank God I had Melinda on my side, and from my research and reaching out to people as well, from what I learned, there's some families that don't even bring up that they have this disease to their children, or they don't ever show this side of them being upset and things like that. And I know for Anyo, it is very important to have this honesty being represented in the film, and to show people that it's okay to express your emotions, whatever spectrum of colors that may be on the emotional range.
I can't agree more. And I think I'll just say one thing. As this film was being made, and there were, we've all been a part of this for over 3 years. So all of us joined right at the beginning when Sasha and Anya were saying, what's going on? They reached out to all of us. And so the conversations were perfect. And they were such a collaborative process, because it was a lot of like, drawings and then coming back and saying, well, does this work? And what about that? And does the doctor say this? Should we get this angry? And so I think that's what makes it so nice, and what I think makes it so accessible and very captivating to people, is that it wasn't made in a vacuum. It wasn't made just by Sasha and Anya, who had their personal experience. It wasn't, just made by me with my research experience. It wasn't just made by Toby and Adrian with their artistic experience. It was everybody. And so I think that is the richness of the film, is all of the people who had a real active engagement in how do we make this work. And so I think that's the strength of it. Kathleen.
I just have to make a comment to Toby, my reaction to that. Diane, who's on here too from the ALS Association, we host an adult child support group. So people who are adults and their parents have ALS. And even those adults sometimes the parents aren't sharing with them about their diagnosis, their progression, tons of stuff. So just tonight, we heard stories where 2 or 3 years went by before the adult children even found out about the diagnosis. So I think children just in general, I mean, I think would appreciate what you just commented on. So thanks for that.
Absolutely.
And sadly, or maybe I shouldn't say sadly, my apologies. I'll retract that. It is not uncommon that families do not talk about ALS. Like that is just not uncommon. And if there's one topic that I get asked to present on the most, it is that. It is, how do we talk about this disease with our children, with our youth, with even just our best friends or our next door neighbors. So anything that can help in that educational kind of process and help families feel comfortable and feel less pressured to have all the information, because that's so much what parents struggle with. They feel like they have to know everything, that they have to say it the right way at this point of time, and when to say it and how to say it. And yes, there are resources out there to help those parents, and this is one of them that can take a little bit of that pressure off, in by having their children watch the film with them, to be able to have the conversation, and they're less pressured to say, I know everything to say. So it's much more common that families don't talk about ALS than to have families do talk about it. Gail, your comment. She says, my 9-year-old grandson has no idea that his mother has an incurable disease. He adores her and he'd be crushed to learn the truth. My heart really goes out to you, Gail, and to whether it is, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's your daughter or your son who has ALS. Gail, there are resources for your family, for your grandson, for your daughter or son, I'm sorry, whoever it is that has ALS. When it comes to children and youth, definitely reach out to us, Global Neuro Y Care. We have tons of materials. We have tons of support. When it comes to absolutely, anything else related to ALS, I hope you are reaching out to the ALS Association. But certainly with children and youth, we do have resources to help your family talk about it. I don't mean to co-opt this conversation with that, but I saw her note and I wanted to kind of honor that she said that. Your family is not alone, Gail. Your family is not alone in that experience. And I hope you do certainly please reach out to us at any time. We'd be very happy to help share materials with your family.
And I
Thanks,
see that-
Sunny. Oh, go for it, Toby.
I was just gonna say that there was a question around the friend names. Melinda answered that the friends to LUKi is Theo and Nifa. Fun fact for everybody: the friends, Nifa was inspired by one of the daughters of Sasha and Anyo, Niva, but we kind of just extended it to play in the world of LUKi's world with the double E's. And then Theo was inspired by a friend of Sasha and Anyo's, a real gentleman that had ALS named Theo as well. And the character Theo in the film was voiced by Anyo, so that was his voice in there, and it was super fun to capture that, and then we could modify it into that kind of robot sound and stuff like that.
Tanner.
Also,
Yeah.
Anya was a big Dungeons
Oh.
and Dragons fan, so that's
Yeah.
why there's little dice and little nods to Dungeons and Dragons in the show.
Thanks, Adrian. Yeah, for sure. You'll see a lot of that if you haven't yet. As you watch it, you'll see more. They do such a great job of that. Tanner?
Yeah, I wanted to say quickly that as we come alongside Global Neuro Y Care to help get this film to the hands of the ALS community, obviously our employees, you guys see them on some of them on the screen here, but our employees nationwide and also with our clinics, one of our goals is to help get this in the hands and also to train them how to use it in a way that is really accessible to our families, and coming alongside Melinda and her team to make that available. We're really excited to get this out there and to use it as allow the staff around the United States and our clinics especially as well, as they have so many touch points to our families, for this to become a core piece of what happens when somebody's diagnosed. Because whether we all know this, whether they have a child that's in their life directly, that when they have diagnosis with ALS, there are children in their life, and people in their life. And so allow this to be a tool that can be utilized as part of their journey, depending on what point of the journey they as a family feel like it's time. And so we are focused on getting this out, and we're really excited for this to become a tool for the community on an ongoing basis. So very excited about that. And also, again, back to for Gail, just to respond there as well. Yes, please, anybody always reach out if you guys need support with your day-to-day journey with ALS to the ALS Association. And I'm so happy to continue to provide that support.
I think we're coming up on the end of our time. Is that correct, Sunny?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was one thing I wanted you to point out, Dr. Cavanaugh, about something we talked about before everybody joined us, and why the film has no language, and how I think it's amazing that you guys can take resources and translate them to be effective worldwide. And so I think that's an important piece that we hasn't been brought up tonight about this being accessible to any household.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you circled back to that, Sunny. You know, one of the missions, really the primary mission of Global Neuro Y Care, hint the name Global, is that we are dedicated to anything we put out, anything we have a part of creating has to have a global reach, which means it has to be translated to as many languages and cultures as possible. Like that's just a given. And so, you know, it was immediately, you know, when Sasha first, you know, talked to me about it all those years ago, said it won't have any language. And I said, you know, I'm in, absolutely. So anything that, you know, we have at Global Neuro Y Care, we are translating as much as possible. So you'll notice at the end of the film, it has the piece about what is ALS, and then it has the beautiful brief story of Sasha and Anyo. We are already working to have that bit translated into, I think, about 8 languages. That said, you know, all of the partners, we're part of the International Alliance Global Neuro Y Care. So we've already translated books with organizations around the world. So we're going to continue working with them to make sure what other languages we're missing, that they help us translate it so that it truly, truly, the part with no language and then the part in individual people's language will be absolutely out there. So that's part of our plan.
I
Thank
wanted
you.
just to say hi to Toby and to Adrian. I had a chat with you guys a long time back, it seems, when we were discussing your film, and I wanted to show you like my vintage of, I guess the things
Yeah,
on.
you're
I have a
OG.
vintage sweatshirt of Luca and the Lights, but I'm just so thankful for you guys for making this movie. It is so beautiful, and I don't actually have kids, but I find myself just watching this, bawling my eyes out, going, "Oh God, this just couldn't be more beautiful." So I just really want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart and from our community. It's just, it's an absolute joy. So thank you both to you.
Linus, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to having a beer with you at Ales for ALS. So.
You got it, buddy. You got it.
Yeah, thank you, Glennis.
All right. With that, our grand finale is over, but our work is not done. May is ALS Awareness Month, but every day is ALS Awareness. And so take these conversations, feel free to send people back to the blog and the website all year. And we'll see you, if not before, back here in May next year for the fourth annual Fight ALS Film Festival. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you, Sunny. Bye.
Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you,
Sunny.
Sunny.
Thank you, Sunny.